2, 3, 4. When I'm lonely, I drink a fancy beer.
Fancy beer.
Oh, when I want you only, I drink a fancy beer.
Fancy beer.
And when the weather's stormy and daybreak is far, I'd throw an extra $1.50 on the bar. There's no sense in saving pennies if I don't know where you are. Oh, I drink a fancy beer.
Fancy beer.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Show. I'm Steve B, and I'm joined via Zoom once again, my good friend and drinking buddy, Eric T. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Steve. How you doing?
Good to see you. Well, thanks.
Likewise. Always great to see you too.
Thanks. And yeah, this Zoom thing is so strange, but we'll figure it out. We're getting a handle of it. But today, this show is our episode 10, so we're quite proud of that fact, and it's our last show for this season anyway. And so, not really knowing what to do too much, we decided to go with some different kind of beers. I'm going to have Eric introduce the first one to us anyway.
All right. So for this episode, we're going to do the top 3 selling beers in America, in the U.S. We're going to start with the third best-selling beer, I guess. We'll do the countdown. And the third best-selling beer in America is Light Beer by Miller. It's a light Pilsner beer. Been around since 1975 or so. And the crazy thing I found out about this is, like most Miller products, the yeast in this particular beer is a derivative of the yeast that Frederick Miller brought over in the 1850s. What do you think, Steve? Got anything to add to it?
Well, I know this. It's Miller time.
It's Miller time.
So, yeah, it says a fine Pilsner beer, but I beg to differ. Not much flavor here. ABVs are 4.2, so, you know, it's a light, crisp, clean, refreshing, I would say, kind of beer on a hot day. I guess it's perfect for those kind of days.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the beer to have for, the type of beer to have when you're having more than one for sure. I don't know if that was their tagline or somebody else's, but I mean, it's a very light beer. It goes down really, really easy. I've probably had more flavorful seltzer waters.
Exactly. I read one comment on it was like it's basically like an alcoholic cream soda. Essentially, it's not much flavor to it. I think cream soda actually has more flavor than this particular beer. Yeah, I don't have much on these beers, but I will say that as far as the style, I know on the can it says Pilsner, but it's what they consider, at least by the beer judges certification program, where they kind of have style guidelines. And it's considered an adjunct beer, an adjunct lager, because they add other ingredients to it besides your traditional 3, which is the barley, hops, and water.
I see.
Yeah, so they're adding non-malted ingredients to the recipe, such as corn syrup and rice as well. Believe it or not.
Right.
So,
wow. And where does the rice come in the hops and barley kind of thing, or is that just...
I don't think this one has the rice, but certainly the next 2 has rice in it. So,
okay.
And part of that is just to get the alcohol without. You're getting cheap alcohol is basically what it comes down to by putting the corn syrup in there.
Gotcha. Yeah, because of course corn syrup will transfer into the yeast, and corn syrup will make the alcohol for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I haven't got much on this one. I think it's absolute rubbish. It's funny because when we conceptualized this show, it was supposed to be all about craft beer and the very best beer and all of those things, and now here we are drinking this rubbish. I never thought we'd do a show like this. But you know what? It's kind of fitting with the times that we're in. You know, people are on tighter budgets and stuff like that.
You know, it's not as flavorful as the craft beers that we're accustomed to drinking, obviously. Um, you know, but if you're sitting, you know, we sit on the beach a lot, or we talk about sitting on a beach more than we actually do, I guess. If you're hanging out, if you're working in the yard, you're doing something, you know, this is a beer that you can pound a bunch of them, and you know, at 4.2% alcohol, you're not going to get too loopy, and you know, you're not going to get too bloated from it. It's just, you know, you're going to sweat it off as fast as you can put it in. So if that's kind of your thing, or if you're going for a cheap buzz, you know, let's face it, you're not drinking these because you want the flavor, right? So I mean, times are tight right now. A lot of people are out of work.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of people are looking for inexpensive beer, and you know, quite honestly, if you're sitting around, if you got the whole day free, want to put on a little buzz, you know, so be it. You know, so I mean, it's, you know, for the price, you're gonna get what you're looking for out of this kind of stuff.
Yep, I agree. For the price point, and even at 4.2, okay, you got to drink a few more of them, but it's a light beer. It doesn't really fill you up like some of. I mean, I wish we were drinking and discussing juicy, delicious IPAs from, you know, Chicago, but you know, these beers have a time and place. I think, like you mentioned, the beach and obviously golf and, you know, stuff like that. It's perfect for that.
Mm-hmm.
You can still swing a club and hit the ball.
Well, I can't do that before the beers, but it doesn't keep me from trying. Anyhow, getting back to you know, a cheap buzz. You know, I was sitting around and trying to figure out a way. Is there a way that we can compare beers to beers? You know, compare the buzz for the buck, if you will, and buzz per buck. You know, these are the times to look at that kind of thing. You know, so I came up with the formula here. I came up with an idea that if you take you take the number of beers you have, figure out how many ounces you bought for a certain amount of dollar. You know, so you want to figure out the ounces per dollar, multiply that times the ABV you figure, and you should come up with some kind of a metric where you can compare A to B. And you know, if you're got $20 in your pocket and want to stretch it, you know, there's a mathematical way to figure that out. You know,
Wow.
So I'm going to try to see if I can't share that with you here.
Leave it to you to figure out buzz per bucks.
Well, you know, I have been taking a little time off work lately, so you know, it gives me something to do. There's a button here that says share screen, so I'm going to try that.
I just want to say right up front that I'm really bad when it comes to math and numbers, but so go ahead, confuse the heck out of me.
We can do the math for you on this end, but here's a little something anyway.
All right. Oh, geez.
Oh yeah.
Here okay.
Let's see if I can't. How do I play this?
All right, we're gonna start out with a little simple beer math here. The other day I went to the store. I picked up some Budweiser beer. Okay. I picked up a 12-pack. Each beer is 12 ounces. That gives me a total of 144 ounces. Okay, so I got 144 ounces of beer, paid $15 for it. That's 9.6 ounces per dollar. Okay, for that 9.6 ounces per buck, I got an ABV of 5%. Multiply that out, gives me 48 BPBs. That's buzz per buck. That's a pretty solid number. You can stand by that one.
That's fantastic.
You know, it was something to do on you know, cold Makawao evening.
I'd have to take a much closer look at that to really understand it, but that's quite clever.
Well, so, I mean, when you compare some of the numbers on beers, you know, I just did a random sampling here. All the ones we have today were pretty similar in price and alcohol content, right. But you know, like Budweiser came in at 48. This Miller Lite comes in at about a 36. But you compare that to some of the craft beers that we've been drinking, like Fire Rock came in at 28, 29. Corona came in at 32. The Big Island Golden Sabbath, remember that one?
Oh yeah,
delicious beer. But because the price point was so high, It came in at 18.7. The alcohol was, the ABVs was high, but so was the dollar amount. So, I mean,
I see.
it's kind of taking the average, kind of taking the price and the ABVs into account and coming up with the ratio. So you can measure one to the other. It has nothing to do with flavor. It has nothing to do with tastes. It's just strictly your ABVs for your dollar.
Right. Oh no, I get it. That's really very clever, Eric.
Memorial Day is coming around. It's going to be a
Sure.
3 weekend. You want to make sure you got enough beer to last you the weekend. So, here's a way to stretch your dollar.
That's it. Yeah. It's good for those spring breakers maybe too. I don't know.
Exactly.
But well done. I like it. Let's move on. We are, time is running away like always does. Yeah, so next, like we mentioned, we're doing the top 3 best-selling beers in the U.S. And number 2 comes in with Coors Light, number 2. And let me just grab one.
Sounds good. Coors Light is one of the older breweries in America. Coors opened their doors in 1873 in Golden, Colorado, and it was a long time before they were even sold on the East Coast. Growing up on the East Coast, the only exposure I had to Coors was watching Smokey and the Bandit. When I think the Bandit, had to make his run out to Colorado to bring some Coors back to Florida or Georgia or something like that. Anyhow, I've been introduced to it since then and swallowed down a couple of them as well.
Yeah, here it is. I went with the 24-ounce option.
I went with the 12 ounce again.
Yeah, I just, I can't bring myself to buy six of these horrible beers.
I did go the 6-pack route on these.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a strategy involved, and since this won't air until Tuesday, I can give up my secret here. I'm gonna get it around to golf in tomorrow, and since these are some of the more popular beers, I'm gonna throw these on top of my cooler. So that way, when the guys out golfing with me reach in my cooler and grab a beer, they're going to see some of these on top and think, cool. I'll grab a Coors Light from Eric. And they're not going to see all the good beers underneath. I'm going to have all the pale ales and craft beers underneath. But these are my decoy beers, if you will. That way they're satisfied and I'm satisfied.
I love it. Now I know if I open your cooler and I see Coors Light on top, they see that's not your cooler or there's some other little trick going on. And now I know the secret.
Keep thinking.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Yeah, I hope you have a good round tomorrow, Eric, and drink a few cold ones while you're at it. Cheers. And cheers to you. Thanks for watching the Beer Show. This is episode number 10. We're doing the top 3 best-selling beers in America. And here we are with number 2, Coors Light.
Yeah, and this is another one comes in at 4.2% ABV. And again, just like, all three of the beers we're sampling today comes in at a 3.6 BPB. That's buzz per buck, or 36 BPB. It's going to be the new measurement of beer.
I love it. And once again, it's an adjunct beer and American adjunct lager. And I think that's quite fitting because it's just sort of rhymes with adjunct. And that's essentially what they're doing. They're adding junk. They're adding junk like rice, and they're adding junk like corn syrup. And it just keeps that alcohol. It puts cheap alcohol in their flavorless beer.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's much point in looking at colors.
No, I wasn't really thinking about putting these Coors Light on a beer light.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can see, I mean, they're both pretty pale. The Coors Light's a little paler, a little fizzier than the Miller Lite was.
It's just fizzy yellow stuff is what it is. There's not much more to say about it. It's absolute crap.
If you want to be fair, I mean, the Coors has a little bit more malty flavor, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of an aluminum aftertaste. But as you're drinking it, it kind of has a malty flavor to it.
Yeah. All right.
The Miller Lite, it's not bad. I mean, for what it is, you got to count with what it is.
it's drinkable on a hot day, a golf course, beach, whatever. And I did like the Miller Lite, and the Coors Light. Kind of, they doesn't have, neither of these beers have much flavor. It's
No.
almost like with light in the light beer world, it's like the less flavor of a beer that you can have, the better off you are, or so it seems.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that goes back. I read someplace. We probably touched on this on an earlier episode, but the whole reason that lighter flavored beers became prevalent in America is due to Prohibition and World War II.
Mm.
Prior to Prohibition, people were drinking more stouts and more ales and heavier beers. Of course, when into Prohibition, beer became illegal. Bootlegging became what it was. People were drinking moonshine and things like that. But as we came out of Prohibition, we went into World War II. So the only people left in America, for the most part, were there was a lot of ladies left over here, and they had a preference for the lighter beers, which is how the lagers and the pilsners became so popular in America. And I see that I think that just went on the natural evolution, lighter and lighter. Maybe so you can drink more and more.
Well, you're right, and you're absolutely right, because I did see something about 1940 was kind of when these lighter beers started to become popular. So that absolutely goes along with what you're saying. And the Coors Light, although light beer was starting to get popular in the 40s, this particular beer wasn't introduced until 1978. The Coors Light. And of course, we know their numbers are huge. They're through the roof as far as popularity. And I think a lot of the popularity, though, honestly, it comes from their marketing campaigns are just, they're fantastic.
Yeah, you can't go 5 minutes without watching a Coors Light commercial or any of these commercials during any kind of sporting event at all.
That's right. And when you're taking in, $25 billion a year, you can sponsor all these events and bring in big names to do halftime shows and things like this. So no, it's it's got its place. I mean, it certainly has a huge foothold in American culture. I don't dislike the beer, for certain things. Yeah, it's all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for what it is, it's all right.
Exactly.
One thing you got to give these guys props for is just the mass production, the consistency and the production.
Right.
I haven't microbrewed myself or done any brewing myself, but I have helped you in the bottling process a few times,
Mm-hmm.
and I know what kind of dedication it takes and how hard it is to get two consistent kegs one after each other. And you watch some of the local breweries around here, and just being able to reproduce it again and again, season after season, with the difference, that the weather may yield different hops or different grains and things like that. And for these big breweries to keep brewing the same products year after year after year across the country in multiple breweries, and have a fairly consistent flavor, that's pretty amazing. I mean, it's a testament to automation and art, the artisticness involved in
Mm-hmm.
in brewing.
You're right. It is a credit to these kind of big time breweries across the country that do brew in multiple locations with different water, and yet at least from what I can tell, every time I open a Coors Light, yep, that's a
Coors Light.
no mistake in that. So just keeping an eye on the time again. We might have to move into the #1 selling beer in the U.S. I'm sorry to say and report that it is Bud Light.
Yeah, Bud Light. So that's 3 for 3 light beers in a row. No surprises by the three biggest breweries in the U.S.
Right.
But I was kind of shocked to find out that 3 light beers were the top beers. I would have figured either Coors Miller or Budweiser proper would have cracked the top three.
Yeah.
But, we're a bunch of light beer drinkers. It's either that or that segment who goes for the mass appeal is going for the very light beers, and the rest of us are going for craft beers.
That's right. Yeah, I just decanted mine just to take a look at it. It's like I said, it's bubbly. It's the fizzy yellow stuff that you really don't want to be drinking on a regular basis.
I just went ahead and poured a little more Coors so I could look at the three of these next to each other. And the Coors is probably the palest, and the Miller and the Bud are pretty much identical in color.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could see it right through there.
Oh yeah, it's nothing. I mean, look at this one here. It's like see-through.
This does have a little different flavor to it, though. They all have their characteristics.
Right. They do. And I know that I think the Budweiser relies on the rice more than the corn syrup.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. It's rice, really rice. You look at the Budweiser truck that I see almost every day on the road. It tells you right there it's got rice in it. It's like, no, I don't. I want rice on my plate lunch. I don't want it in my beer. God damn it!
Right back in the musubi.
Yeah, rice in my beer? No, come on. Oh well. All right, I'm gonna move into let me grab a Bud Light.
Okay. Yeah.
And you won't hear me say that very often, by the way. Let me grab my Bud Light.
I was going to ask if Joe was over there, because that's the only time I hear you grabbing a Bud Light is when Joe's coming over.
That's
it. It'd have to be a bottle. It couldn't be a can.
So there's there it is. Look at that big 24-ounce. If you're only going to have one beer, I guess this would be the one.
That'd be one of them.
This is probably a great golfing kind of size.
Yeah.
Right here. I mean, this would probably get you through a couple of holes.
That'd be a good one to put on top of the cooler for sure.
There you go. Yeah. Leave the good stuff down below, yeah?
You know it.
So, yeah, let's see. Do I have anything on this one? 4.2, ABV 4.2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we rated these beers, but
well, I'd say we're pretty consistent on them. They're for what they're trying to be. They're 7s and 8s. But I mean, comparing them to craft beers, I mean it's not even on the scale, is it?
Not really.
I mean,
not really.
It's
hey,
it's the beer show. I figured one of us ought to be drinking beer anyway.
That reminds me of the old joke, right? With the Arthur Giddis and Adolf Coors and August Busch going to the bar. Yeah, you remember that joke, right?
I do.
And
you tell me.
And Arthur Giddis says, "Well, if you guys aren't drinking, I'm not drinking either." Anyway, $5.2 billion in sales in 2019 for.
It's amazing.
Bud Light. That is $5.2 billion. And I want to say that's just for Bud Light. I don't know. Yeah, that's just Bud Light.
That's just Bud Light. That's just Budweiser.
Yeah, let alone Budweiser and the rest. But it is also, I believe, the number one selling beer in the world. Budweiser. Budweiser, that is.
That's number 2.
Is that right?
I just found out this morning. There's one called Snow that's only sold 99% in China, and it's a marriage between the Snow Company and Miller. But they sell it.
Interesting.
Cheap Pilsner beer sells for under $1 a bottle over there.
Okay.
97 cents, I think. They said the average was 4.0 beer. but people drink a ton of it. I mean,
Right.
they just sit there and just plow down all day long.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that's what this beer is, right? I mean, you're not going to drink, 10 incredible IPAs, hoppy IPAs.
No,
But
you know, be happy.
I
But
could see,
I mean,
could
that's
see-
why they sell these in 12 packs and 18 packs,
and 30 packs.
30 packs, right?
And 30 packs. I mean, really? That tells you something right there. You're not going to find a 30 pack of your best IPA from Goose Island.
No,
It just doesn't exist.
I've never seen a Stone 30 pack. You know,
No, I mean, you're not likely to either. I mean, that's a lot of beer and a lot of good beer at that. I think if you're getting into those kind of ranges, you might as well just get a 5-gallon keg.
well, then you're probably at Costco.
Anyway, Eric, cheers once again.
Cheers.
And I don't have really anything else to add to this. I can tell you that this was first introduced in 1982.
A little late to the game.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you're right. Late to the game compared to the other two beers that we just tried.
Yeah, 75,
Which was more
78.
70s, mid 70s. So it's kind of interesting that these guys came late to the game and then just zoomed straight to number one.
Yeah.
And I think, again, as mentioned, has a lot to do with marketing.
Absolutely. As all their offshoots, the Bud Light Lime, the Bud Light Margarita, the Bud Light, this, that, and the other thing.
That's right. And now they're doing the, you've probably seen the, well, no, when I think of Corona, the salsa ones with the flavors.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Bud's doing that yet or not, but that could take off as well.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah. Oh, I'm quite sure. Yeah, it's okay. It's like you said, each of these beers has a uniquely different little something
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
taste.
and it's not that they're unpleasant. It's just they're not as flavorful as craft beer that we're accustomed to.
Right.
If that's all we drank, we didn't know any better. They all have their unique flavor, and I could see that people would have their favorites and go a certain direction. But
Mhm.
in the meantime, I'll leave these decoys on top of my cooler and dig a little deeper.
I love it. Now I know your trick. I'm going to dig a little deeper in that cooler when next time we shoot around. But very good, Eric. These are, I guess we had to do a show like this at some point. It was kind of forced on us, but we had to do it via Zoom. But there you go. That's another beer show. Number 10.
Season. Cheers to a great first season, Steve.
Yeah, likewise. Cheers.
More.
Cheers to number 10. And, hopefully very soon we're going to be able to get back together and actually shoot another one here in the bar
Looking forward to it.
at the pub. So, well, thanks for watching the beer show. As strange as it is, we will hopefully see you in season 2 with some more amazing, delicious beers, craft beers, and
Maybe some location shoots.
some of that too. Yeah, we're going to do some location stuff as soon as we can. As soon as we can get back out there, we wanted to go to some different breweries and around the islands and show you guys firsthand inside some of these places. But until then, thanks for checking out the beer show. Number 10. We'll see you next season very soon in a couple of months. And Eric, take care. Stay safe.
Cheers, Steve. You too.
Thank
Aloha.
you. Cheers to you. Aloha. And we'll see you next time.
2, 3, 4. When I'm lonely, I drink a fancy beer. Oh, when I want you only, I drink a fancy beer. And when the weather's stormy and daybreak is far, I'd throw an extra $1.50 on the bar. There's no sense in saving pennies if I don't know where you are. Oh, I drink a fancy beer.